Today's guest is Javed Qadrud-Din, the co-founder and chief technology officer at General Legal, the AI-native law firm for growth stage companies. Javed has been coding since the age of 9. He went to Harvard, detoured into law at Fenwick West, representing startups, then decided he'd rather build things than advise on them. He switched back to engineering in 2013 and has been at the intersection of law and AI ever since, most notably at CaseText, the YC-backed legal AI company that exited to Thomson Reuters in 2023. Now at General Legal, Javed is solving commercial contracting for founders, flat fees, 3-hour turnaround, and no billable hour in sight. In this episode, Javed breaks down what it actually means to be AI native, how General Legal is rebuilding legal services from the ground up, and what the legal industry looks like in 10 years' time. Javed, welcome to the Best Practice podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to give us a quick bit of background about yourself and what it is you do at General Legal?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the CTO at General Legal. So I run the engineering team, which is currently me and one other person, and because we're very early stage at the moment, but we're growing quickly. And yeah, we're building out the tool set that our lawyers use to do their work much faster and more efficiently than has been possible.
Awesome. And previously you were at CaseText and you were building the first semantic search system in legal. This is long before the likes of ChatGPT rolled out in September of 2022. And when you first saw ChatGPT 4, what was your reaction? Did you think that the playing ground had been reset, or do you think you were still at a bit of an advantage?
I mean, definitely it changed everything. So we had previously sort of previewed GPT-3 when that came out with OpenAI, and that just didn't really move the needle for us at all because the way it was trained, right? It was just trained on web text, so you kind of had to figure out like, okay, what would a website start with that finishes with the output that I want? And that's like it's very difficult to like get what you want out of the model at the GPT-3 level, right? So we were using at that point open source models to do various things that we trained the models specifically to do. And GPT-4, which we got access to before ChatGPT came out to the public, just completely changed everything. So it was at first kind of like disbelief that this could be done.
Yeah, no worries. Carry on. Hopefully that should have still been recording on your laptop.
At first it was disbelief at sort of what that this was possible, like because we got access to GPT-4 before ChatGPT came out. So we, in a way, were like in no way prepared for seeing this. And you talk to the thing and it responds intelligently, and it's almost hard for people to remember what the world was like before we had these models. But it was being introduced to this without thinking that AI was here, and then realizing, oh my God, like AI now exists and the whole world is different. So we sort of feverishly built as many tools as we could into what ultimately became CoCounsel during this period when we knew that this existed and nobody else did. So it was just like an incredible moment.
So you had to move at a very fast rate to really harness OpenAI's technologies so early, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was like we're trying to build a bunch of tools on top of this technology, while also you're just like having an existential crisis about like what the future is going to hold, right? So it was like an interesting time.
And I saw JP was on another podcast and he described what you're building as an attorney attention engine. Could you tell us a bit about what's actually happening underneath all the application face when a contract comes in from a client? Where does it go? What happens?
Sure. So, yeah, one piece of what we're building is an attorney attention engine. So that allows us to like get the attorney up to speed on what's happening in this deal. So it's like we get a red line back from the other side. We want to staff an attorney on that very quickly so that we can respond very quickly. So red line comes in from the other side. A bot essentially reads all the communications between us and that client over, months past, figures out what in this set of communications is relevant to this deal, and then gives the attorney a report essentially that brings them up to speed, tells them all the items that have been discussed so far, like which ones are closed, which ones are still open, what have our positions been, what are the other side's positions been, what has our client said that they specifically want in this deal. So all of that comes to the attorney so that they're up to speed very quickly and then can turn the contract very quickly. So that's sort of like the attorney context engineering. And then the second piece is systems that take a first cut at responding to the red lines and marking up a document. And then the attorney gets both of these things, like a context to bring them up to speed and the first draft of whatever we're going, like our work products. And then the attorney takes what the AI has done and accepts, rejects, alters it so that it's ready to send to a client.
And that's all native within the General Legal platform, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And can you tell me a bit more about the AI platforms that you're currently using to power your products? Are you using Opus 4.6? Are you using GPT-5?
Yeah. So yeah, we basically use the best available models. There's when you have attorney time as one of your costs, pinching pennies on the models doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we use the best frontier models. We will eventually be training our own models, but at the moment we're using the best frontier models.
And why do you think training your own models is really important in the long run?
So the frontier models, at least at the moment, and I think for possibly forever, will not, they don't have like a lawyer's judgment. They will suggest a lot of things that you can prompt around, but they will suggest a lot of things and be overzealous in general on what needs to change in a contract. And it's sort of unclear, at least to the layperson, what's really important and what's just something the model's saying that might be off market. And that's simply because of the way they're trained. They're trained on open web data, and the what's market is not encoded in that data, right? Because most contracts for most types of deals are private. They're not just out there on the web to be scraped and then used in training. So that's sort of the main reason we think training is going to matter. And we have evals, and we're going to see how much better we can do.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think I've even seen some legal AI companies partner with law firms to get their data so then they can train their models on their private data and see if they can make a better legal specific domain LLM compared to the ones from OpenAI, etc. Now, I see on LinkedIn a lot that the term AI native is getting thrown around, especially in these AI native law firms. What does AI native mean to General Legal? And how do you spot a difference between a firm that is actually AI native and another firm that has been traditionally going by the billable hour and have just slapped on an AI tool?
So I think it's two things. Like first, we're using AI in every sort of possible place where it can safely be used. So that's like thing one, which I think like traditional law firms, you can buy some AI products, but if you're not using them end to end in every part of the system that you can, then it's not really the same. And the second, like most important part, I think, is we are changing the customer experience based on the AI that we're using. So the we're passing the savings, a lot of the savings that we get from the attorney time that isn't spent and the attorney time. So we're passing on savings on attorney time. We don't have the billable hour. We're a flat fee for something that, for types of work that traditionally were not flat fee. And we get back to you really quickly because now we can, right? So it's like Tesla, right? They didn't just take a car and stick an electric motor in it. They rebuilt the car, so now there's an electric motor, right? But now you have like a front trunk and like all this extra space in the interior and a bunch of other stuff that you could do now because you had electric motors. So similarly, we're taking these gains from AI and passing them on to the customer.
Yeah, the car analogy you just said is really good. I think, you get a lot of the older, more prestigious companies such as, BMW, Mercedes, and they just take the exact same model and they stick an electric motor inside, and you don't get any of the efficiency gains, or you don't get any of the frunk because it's still taken up by loads of electronics and batteries, compared to Tesla, who have built from the ground up. And that's quite interesting because I saw you're only charging $500 per contract, and you say you've got a 3-hour turnaround time, which is very quick. Do you think this is a scalable model? Do you have like limits on how complex the contract can be, or like how long it can be before it comes to you?
Yeah, we do. So we're specifically not going after like your M&A deals that have like the deal has 20 different contracts involved with it, like 20 different documents and a bunch of diligence that has to happen. Like these are and you need this high level strategic advice because you're betting the company on this one transaction, right? We are not doing those types of transactions. We are doing, at the moment, we are doing commercial contracts. So it's one document usually, and it's something that the AI can really get us 80% of the way there with, and then the lawyer can do the last 20%. That's not possible with a big complex transaction that goes back and forth 20 different times between the two sides. There's tons of face-to-face negotiation. With these kinds of contracts, like there's maybe 2-3 turns of the documents back and forth, and there's maybe one face-to-face conversation, sometimes zero. So that is a much more tractable problem for AI at the moment. Maybe we'll move up market eventually, but we don't see ourselves competing in like the space of super complex deals.
Yeah, and I suppose AI at the moment can really do those one pages much easier than it can do like a 100-page contract without coming back with loads of mistakes. And as the AI gets faster and better, and the API tools and the calls get cheaper, do you think the $500 price packets will come down, or do you think you'll keep it the same and expand your margin? What do you think it will look like in a year's time?
I think it'll depend on the market. We want to make a profit, but we want to improve the customer experience and bring the price of legal representation to a point where a lot of small businesses out there, mid-sized businesses, are not seeking an attorney for a lot of the stuff that they're doing because it's cost prohibitive. We want to make sure that everyone can get a legal representation where they need it. So we want to bring the price point down and make a profit at the same time, and we think we can do that. Like we can split that.
And do you think I've seen a lot on LinkedIn as well with startup founders almost vibe drafting their own contracts with ChatGPT. What do you think to all this? These are like for startups in things that aren't in legal, so maybe they're in education or food or something, and they're doing all their negotiation and contracts with just ChatGPT free plan. What do you think of that?
I you're sort of YOLOing it if you do that, right? You the models are pretty good, right? Like they will get you 80% of the way there, but then the remaining 20%, a mistake in there, like in an indemnity clause, like that could end up bankrupting your business. So you really want a human to see the output of the AI, a human lawyer who knows what they're doing, knows what's market, actually knows what's market, and can make sure that you're getting the right deal and not opening yourself up to like unbounded risk that could just like sink your whole company, right? So you're YOLOing it. You can do that. It's a risk, and you won't get the best deals because the AI, like if you say like, tell me what's market on a certain type of provision, it'll say something, but it actually has no idea because the data are not available online to make that determination. So,
And do you think with the rise of agentic AI, we'll get to a point where a human won't have to review the output and we'll be at a point where the AI can just simply go back and will almost have 100% certainty that it's done it correctly?
maybe with private data sets, you could get close to that. So we see it as a human will probably always be looking over the outputs, but we want to get it to a point where we trust the systems like we would trust sort of a really good senior associate. So it's like the models will tell us like, here are the high level things for this contract that we pushed back on, and we can just trust that those changes were implemented properly. So we don't have to dig into the document and look over every comma and period. We can assume that those are correct. We want to reach that level of trust with the models, and I think we can get there.
And do you think that comes with time, or do you think if you were just to see a model do that 1,000 times, you'd be confident that you could do it?
Yeah, the way to know is to test. So it's not just like, oh, I've seen it do it 1,000 times. It's like we run it 1,000 times and we have humans check over the output and make sure it's good. And then we can statistically know that we can trust it, 99.99% of the time it's going to do the right thing, and the 0.01% of the time it'll still do something reasonable, right? So like we will not allow the AIs to do something without a human going over with a fine-tooth comb until we statistically understand that it's possible to like discard the fine-tooth comb and start going with a what is it called? I don't know, like a broader tooth comb. I'm not sure.
Yeah, a comb, I guess.
Yeah, regular comb.
Yeah. I wanted to focus in on your startup journey so far. So you've just been accepted and you're into Y Combinator, which is a famously intense and also super competitive accelerator program to get into. Has your day got a whole lot busier since you've been accepted into Y Combinator, and what does it look like at this stage?
Yeah, it's definitely really busy. We're kind of building the plane as we go. So there's a lot of like building out tools, and at the same time trying to talk to investors. A lot of investor interest in us, so we're talking to a lot of them and talking to clients. Like every new client, we try to have a call with them to talk over what they want. And talking to hires, right? So it's a mix of all those things, and try to get enough time to code to build products, which the AIs are enormously helpful with at this point. So Claude Code is an incredible tool.
Yeah. And what did you think to the Claude Code plugin that dropped a few weeks ago that was disrupting the entire legal market?
Yeah. I tried it out. I think, it's a pretty good tool. It's a tool for lawyers. We don't see it as competing with us because we are a law firm. Like, we'll just use the best tools we can find under the hood. We're not currently using it, although we can think about it. It's sort of like our homegrown tools do the specific things that we want to do better than sort of any general tool will do those specific things. So.
And when you're like a new prospective client comes to you, why is it they're coming to you to do their contracts instead of just an AI native platform?
Because I think they might be running ChatGPT on their contracts. But ChatGPT gives you a bunch of stuff that it says you should change, and they want to understand, like, what should I actually change? They want the peace of mind of knowing that a real human attorney who actually knows what they're doing has looked over their contracts and is making sure they're getting a good deal and not opening themselves up to bankruptcy. I think those are the big reasons, but they want to get deals done quickly. They don't want to be sitting around waiting a week for their lawyer to get back to them and then charging them, $2,000 to review a deal that's only $10,000 deal, right?
I think that trust aspect is really key, and I can see, a lot of law firms going down a similar path where you get AI like you're doing to do all the heavy lifting in the background, but you still get that final sign off, that signature, and you always have someone to call if something goes wrong, like a real human on the other side. And so, yeah, I think that human element of trust will be there for quite some time, if anything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just zoom into the future now. So in 4 years' time, it's 2030. General Legal is succeeding or doing really well. What do you think the wider legal industry looks like? And what's changed about some of the in-house people and how they're spending their time?
Yeah. So what does the industry look like? I think there'll be AI native law firms in various legal industry verticals. There'll probably be a few in each because simply, like, certainly where there's parties opposed to each other in transactions or in litigation, you necessarily have to have a few firms because of conflicts rules. So, there'll be some AI native firms, and we'll be at the point, I think, by then where the models can be trusted to do, most of the work underneath, and all that will be left is the human element, right? So lawyers will be doing face-to-face negotiations. They'll be doing a lot more, talking to their clients and explaining what things mean and walking them through, providing strategic advice, providing, connections, things like that. And, on the litigation side, you're still going to need lawyers going into court physically, right? Making arguments in front of judges and juries. And and these sorts of things where it's like, your kid just got, taken in by the police for drinking, underage drinking at a party or something, right? And you want, your lawyer will still come and sit down with you and talk you through this, like, difficult period in your life, or a divorce, or somebody whose insurance, like a cancer patient whose insurance is denying their claim. Like, a lawyer is going to hold your hand and walk you through this, like, very difficult situation that you're going through in your life. I guess that last one isn't a problem in the UK, but it's a big thing here. So.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of people listening to this podcast who are going to be very inspired about what you've done at General Legal, especially about the fact you've got into a Y Combinator. And what would be your tips for other legal tech startup founders that want to get into YC or want to get their product funded by any venture capital house or accelerator program?
That's a good question. So for us, it was the fact that we'd been part of a successfully exited startup before, and had played a big role at that company. So we were at CaseText, exited for $650 million. So the fact that we'd been important in a startup that was successful made a huge difference in our ability to raise money. It was like surprisingly easy. So yeah, I guess like from my path at least, the lesson would be like join a startup that you think is going to do well, work really hard there, and provide a lot of value, and then it'll be easy after that startup succeeds for you to start your own. But many different paths. There's tons of people in my YC batch who have not been part of a successful startup before. They're just out of school and they're in YC, so that they might be better people to ask. Path was a bit longer.
Yeah. And do you think people working at a law firm are at an advantage? Or do you think people who are fresh to the industry are at an advantage themselves?
For raising money, you mean?
Or for raising money and creating a legal tech startup?
Well, that's a good question. So at a law firm versus... So I think, VCs do pay attention to resumes. So, having a big brand name on your resume is helpful in raising money, just like it is in getting a job. But, it can also be like if you've been at a firm for many years, that can be a red flag for some VCs as well. Cause like, it's like, oh, they'll see it as like, oh, this is a big company person. They might not be good for startup life. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I guess my advice on this would be, I would not go to a law firm first. Like if you're at a law firm, great, start up now, leave now and start something. Cause like this time in the industry is incredibly exciting. And if you're not at one yet, I would just go for it. Right. Like, I don't think spending time in a law firm is going to help enough that it'll be worth the time.
Fair enough. Yeah, Javed, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you on. And where can people find General Legal?
So we're at general.legal. Just go to our website and you can sign up right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome.